Hi. So I'm back sooner than expected. Once again, doing this with my face. I noticed in the last video I put the pensive one that I like touch my face a lot when I'm like anxious and fidgety. I'm sorry. It's weird. I also noticed I had a lot of food in my beard. Sorry for that as well. It's the cost of watching me eat a fucking burrito. I know that some of you foodies that turned you on. That wasn't my intent. So here we are. So this one is the reason I'm making this one, and I'm making it quicker and I'm posting it, is just because after that very long video of me like expressing things. Also, do you like the little? Yeah, man. Yeah, man. We got like a extra $5 on the budget, so. Also the Transformers poster up there that you guys can't see. It's bothering me. I know it's not framed like the rest of these. I do intend on finding a frame or taking it down and putting something else in place of it. So bear with me. I know it's not aesthetically pleasing. Of course, I'm probably the only one that cares. So, after that last video, I realized there was something very therapeutic about posting true shit, like straight up shit, I guess you could say. Is my camera uneven? Can't even tell. Anyway, does this have, hold, wait, one. No, actually, we're pretty solid. Basically what I was saying is, I know the last video was very pensive and it was very therapeutic and cathartic to some extent. It felt cool, like expressing real shit about like creativity, and then I kind of realized like maybe some of my content could be movie reviews, some vlogs, and then also some like general advice or general talk of creativity. For instance, one thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is like writer's block, which is pretty ass for everyone who endures it, but I feel like even more so for people who are, which could pretty much be the whole our artistically inclined community, the writers, the cinematographers, the musicians, the poets. We all suffer from depression, anxiety, other forms of ailments, OCD, ADHD, anything with a D in it. My point is, I think that it would be cool to have some, and I'm sure there are plenty of people that do this, but what's another one if it's to be helpful, to talk about like how to get over some of these like what's the word I'm looking for? Emotional creative potholes. That's the phrase. That's it. So a lot of us deal with that, especially when we're creating. I feel like a lot of us want to create things but are incapable of finishing them because of those things, those ailments that really get under our fucking skin. That one's definitely one of mine, is that I have writer's block on occasion. By on occasion, I mean quite fucking often. It's not always like this, but as of the last few months, it certainly has been. Now, that doesn't keep me from writing. I've been very disciplined. This is something that maybe people could take up. I have a 1 hour a day rule. No matter what, even if it's trash, no matter what it is, I always write for 1 hour a day. I don't care how late I get home. I don't care if I have visitors over. I don't care about any circumstances. I always make sure to write 1 hour a day. The reason being is that at the very least, even if the motivation isn't there, the discipline is. And I've always been an avid believer that discipline always supersedes motivation. You don't. Too many things have to line up for motivation to exist. Too many things have to be in line for motivation to be a thing that lasts, and it's very conditional. Like motivation is in fact a very conditional circumstance where all of a sudden you don't know why it happened, you don't realize it, but some weird alignment in the spectral sphere or fucking anywhere, I don't know, ask one of those like what's your sign bitches, right? Like maybe they know things align, and motivation's like, yeah, okay, you're getting it. Now it might last 7 fucking minutes, it might last 30 minutes, it might last all day. The fact of the matter is that after it's over, you're chasing that feeling. You're chasing that. And that becomes problematic because you can't replicate that, primarily because you can't understand where it came from, how it manifested, what aligned. It becomes very hard, and then also by default becomes very depressing that you're trying to chase it, and when you realize you can't fabricate that motivation, you get more demotivated and it's horrid. And so I've always been someone who's an avid believer in discipline, and I feel like that's been catching on a lot more, which is really cool. And these days, where discipline is becoming much more of a talking point than motivation, and that's great. That's how it should always be. I've definitely been an avid believer of that for some years now when it comes to the gym, and when it comes to my creativity, and when it comes to a lot of the goals that I've set to myself, or for myself. It's definitely been more a point of how can I implement little tasks every day so that at the very least I don't just go days or weeks without adding to this thing that I'm doing. And then, that's how you kind of walk away from projects. That's how you end up not finishing things. So for me, motivation is super important. For me, discipline is really important for that very reason. So I have a strict 1 hour a day rule, which is just always write, even if it's a page, 3 pages, and even if you're unhappy and you end up trashing it or deleting it, it doesn't matter. Just 1 hour a day. You have an hour a day. I know I have an hour a day, despite all the things that I try to do in that 24-hour span, plus the 8 hours of sleep that I definitely try to acquire from my gym recovery, on top of the gym, the creative hours that I implement into my day. I still make sure that I have that 1 hour dedicated to the writing process, because now I don't miss a day of writing. And what that allows is just this amalgamation of work that I have, and that even if I don't do anything with at the moment because I'm stuck, eventually I will fabricate something that I'm happy with that then makes sense to leave in, or even just like deleting something and working from that process and realizing like why it didn't work, why what I just wrote didn't work for me, and why I shouldn't try to do that again. It's a learning process, it's a learning curve, and I feel like we focus and obsess too much on that perfect script or that perfect shot or that perfect score, and insert all the different artistic things that people do, illustration. Like, my point is, like, we obsess too much over that fine point, and it's kind of a weird thought process, and it's counterintuitive to the creative process to be like, this has to be perfect, this has to make sense, this has to be right, because to insinuate that every time you write or you compose something it's always perfect is kind of asinine. I think you don't want everything to be perfect in the creative process, because by default everything is subjective. You are creating things. Of course, the fine process of like tuning a song, right, or editing a perfect shot, those things, the technicalities are different, but I think the overall creative element of that, to obsess over its perfection, is kind of where people kind of fuck themselves, because then you end up not writing or not creating because you're so obsessed and realizing that whatever you're creating at the moment isn't amounting to that idea of what you think perfect would be. And then you go weeks, and we all know what happens when we go weeks or sometimes months without inserting any kind of creative input into any of our work. It becomes kind of like, it becomes debilitating, and it also kind of becomes like this voice in the back of your fucking head that's like constantly telling you you ain't shit because you're incapable of, creating. And then what's even worse is the state of comparison, where you start reading material. For example, I want to be a director slash writer. So if I'm in a slump and I haven't written or I haven't shot anything, when I watch a movie or when I read a book or even when I watch a film that's written well, I will get in my feelings about having not written, especially something that good. And that's a really unfair place to be, because one has to remember that we all start in the same place, right? Not with the same exact conditions, but with that sort of that sediment idea of like, I want to create, I want to do something. We put a lot of pressure in our art to like represent ourselves, right? And I mean, that's cool, because the idea is that everything we say, especially in this day and age, is a representation of how we see the world, right? And it's so cool to be able to put something out there that speaks to different people, speaks to different demographics, whatever it may be. It's fucking cool. But we also got to remember that the idea of comparison is kind of moot in the creative sphere. The simple fact is, you have to stand apart, and if you compare your work to someone else's work and go, man, I should have written that, or why didn't I write that, all it does is sort of make you feel inferior. And that person who wrote that has no idea who you are. Their intent isn't to make you feel inferior. Their intent is no different than yours, which was to do something with their art that was meaningful, that meant something. And so not writing and staying away from it for too long, or not creating or composing or painting or illustrating, whatever it is that focal point for you is, staying away from it for too long and then consuming media or consuming any other kind of forms that relate to your art, it does a lot of bad and damage to your confidence in your brain. And so that's why it's important not to stay away from what you love to do. Don't stay away. That's why I say an hour a day is, I'm going to say something about apples. I hope whoever's watching this, if you're dealing with mental shit, because it's just a big pile of fucking mental doo-doo, caca, shit, I am an adult. I hope that in the end of this video, you've found just some small silver lining, some small realization of, you know what, I'm going to do 30 minutes a day. Just 30 minutes a day. I haven't drawn in a very long time. I haven't composed in a very long time. Just 30 minutes. Hell, if you're a dancer, you haven't danced, dance 25 minutes a day, man. Just every day. Even if you don't want to. Just do it. You'd be surprised 5 minutes in how great you'll feel. So, okay. Yeah. Fucking got a video done. See? Alright, I'm gonna go. Bye.